A rematch for Super Bowl 58 and a rough day at the office for the Ravens and for the poor Detroit Lions. Hang on to your boot scoots. It's the Michael Welch Podcast.
All my blessings, all my blessings, all my blessings, all my blessings.
I need my blessings every penny. Daily counting every single one, I'm seeing plenty. Level up and watch that beater turn into a Bentley. See I'm stunned, so I'm all I'm thinking, please don't tell me.
All right, let's start with the Ravens-Chiefs, the first game on the docket. And a rough go for the Ravens. We weren't sure what the Chiefs' offense was going to look like for sure. And Travis Kelce has had his struggles, as had that entire offense. Rice has gotten in the mix there as the top actual receiver on the team. And they ran right down the field there, passed right down the field there. Were able to score right away after the Ravens were forced to a 3-and-out. And set the tone early there on the road. No problems. Offense was clicking. Kansas City looks like it was really rolling there early. 7 of its first 12 plays went for first downs. And, half, it was like 8 for 14 then, and like 9 first downs on 16 or something. It just, 2 great successful drives to put 2 touchdowns on the board and to start the game off there. And just working their way down the field. 4 balls to Kelce early for 42 yards and a touchdown. First 11 passes completed for Mahomes. Pachenko was involved. And Mr. Kelce there was able to break Ray Rice's record for postseason catches and for touchdowns, I believe, as well. So breaking all kinds of records there. After the win, of course, we've got Taylor Swift hugging and kissing all over him. So very successful there. But throughout the game, Lamar Jackson, just a tough go there. We've got all kinds of penalty problems. We've got Zay Flowers, who makes the biggest play of the game, a big 30, 40-yard catch downfield. That ultimately he just taunts and loses 15 yards for the Ravens. On sports, there were 2 15-yard penalties on a Kansas City drive in the first half that ultimately put a scoring drive together for them. Just all kinds of mistakes and all kinds of blunders you can't have for the Ravens, who just completely melted down and fell apart. Of course, the leading narrative is just the play calling, not just Lamar, but the play calling as well. 6 running back carries against the 20th ranked run defense that gave up almost 200 yards to the Bills. What in the hell? What a mistake that is. And then to have Lamar overthrowing receivers in the second half when you're still in striking distance in the game as it completely slowed down and turned into a punt fest in the third quarter. Of course, it was 17-7 at the half there. It was the field goal before half that was set up by a whole bunch of ridiculous Ravens penalties. And 17-10 was the final. So it completely slowed down in the second half there. Ravens able to score a late touchdown. Honestly, I kind of didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the end of this one. We knew it was over when when Lamar Jackson threw an interception in the end zone with about just under 7 minutes to go in the fourth. Their second turnover in the end zone on the day after Zay Flowers had fumbled early on a great defensive play, punching the ball out. Not really his fault on that one. So my goodness, what an implosion there by the Ravens. I would love to see some success for Lamar Jackson moving forward, but just a absolute disaster. Panicky, not running the football like they should, not hitting big throws. Again, receivers have been a problem here. And that, I don't know how you can watch this team and say anyone outside of Zay Flowers, who is a rookie and drafted this year, has been a productive weapon. Odell Beckham Jr. finally got a couple balls thrown his way. He wasn't even in the game in the first half at all, I don't believe. Didn't take any snaps. He's been not productive at all this year. I don't expect him to be there next season. He was on a 1-year deal. So, yes, Lamar's part of the problem with the way he throws and missing throws and overthrowing. There's problems with play calls that Harbaugh doesn't ever seem to get ripped on there. And the receiving options are still a problem. Yes, the tight ends are great. Likely was in. Andrew was still banged up and not really part of the game plan. And I don't necessarily think you need like a top 5 receiver in the league to be, a Super Bowl champion. History would tell us you actually do, but he just doesn't have, like, who are you afraid of here? Zay Flowers, who keeps fucking up? I mean, just really problematic here, the offensive weapons for the Ravens. On the other hand, the Chiefs get pressure off Lamar, kept him in the pocket, prevented him from going outside for a lot of yards. He completed, 6 passes at the half? I have it jotted down here somewhere on my notebook. 5 or 6 passes at half. Just couldn't move the ball at all through the air, obviously, and not running it. And just a great job, not allowing him to get out of the pocket, making him uncomfortable. And then again, the offense did enough, did what it needed to do, to the point where folks are talking like they should really overpower the 49ers in the Super Bowl moving forward. And the 49ers have their problems, but there's nothing real threatening about this Kansas City offense still. Travis Kelce finished with, 11 targets and 11 catches for 116 yards. That's not going to happen against the 49ers. Yes, you can throw on the Niners, but I don't expect that to happen in the Super Bowl. And again, the Ravens are down one of their top corners. Not that he was lined up over Travis Kelce anyways. They didn't do a lot to disrupt Kelce or bring additional coverage for him, which was one of the problems. So I still see a lot of coaching problems from the Ravens in these big situations, just as much as anything else. Folks want to put a lot of pressure on Lamar. No doubt. You see a lot of quarterbacks not in ideal situations that are able to pull their teams through, such as Joe Burrow when they drafted Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. And then they went ahead and drafted his partner, Jamar Chase, there from from LSU, not Ohio State. There we go. From LSU. And, kind of fed him to the wolves, so to speak, behind the offensive line, said, hey, we'll have to worry about that later. And he was able to kind of drag that team to the Super Bowl. And that's something Lamar right now has been on the doorstep of a couple times and just not quite able to do. But at the same time, I still just think he's overcoming a number of skill position players. Running backs are always hurt. Let's not forget, this roster has both Delvin Cook and Melvin Gordon on it, 2 former superstar running backs, and Justice Hill and Gus Edwards are 2 guys that have been toting the football on the rare occasion that they do that now. And of course, J.K. Dobbs, who's supposed to be the star, cannot stay on the field. So despite what historically has been a fleet of productive backs, they're either not using them, they're not seeing the field, maybe they don't have the tread on the tires, or they're getting hurt. So between coaching decisions and running back injuries and really a lack of receiving help and Lamar overthrowing some balls, and there are some problems absolutely here, but it's not simply a quarterback one. That's for sure. Now, saying that, Lamar was 20 for 37. 20 for 37, 272 yards passing, 7.4 per attempt, touchdown a pick. Again, missing balls deep. Most of those passes came in the second half. He had 54 of the 81 accredited rushing yards in the game, not including the sack yardage, 4 sacks as well, as the Chiefs were able to get to him several times. And 5 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown for Zay Flowers, the big 54-yarder down the field there. Of course, the fumble as well. And then Aguilar had 1 for 39. Beckham ended up with 3 for 22, but he also dropped 1. Just a couple bad plays there, a few catches by the running backs, but nothing spectacular. 30 for 39 was what Patrick Mahomes ended up, 241 and a touchdown. Rice had 8 grabs for 46, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 2 catches for 38 as well. And just a pretty good job. They had a few fumbling problems as well, but pressure, 7 accredited quarterback hits, a decent pressure rate, and keeping Lamar in the pocket altogether. So 17-10 was the final, and Kansas City Chiefs back to the Super Bowl. Is it the 3rd time in 5 years? Just incredible for Patrick Mahomes, who is 28 years old, able to have a shot at his 3rd Super Bowl already, which is just just incredible. And, of course, already in conversations to be the best quarterback in NFL history by the time his career is finished. All right, so I'm going to try not get too nauseous with the Lions here. But, man, what a great first half. Probably had fans thinking they could book their tickets to the Super Bowl. Hurry up and get your flights, get your arrangements made, because posts were going up about the end of the Kansas City game and how, additional flights were being added from Kansas City to Las Vegas, and they had fun flight numbers like 1989 for Taylor Swift and 87 for Travis Kelce's number and all this fun stuff. So by the time you got to the end of the first half, 24-7 for Detroit, it's like, how can we possibly lose this? We're looking great. Brock Purdy's looking horrible for the Niners. And Deebo Samuel and Kittle combined, I think, had one catch. A few balls had gone to Deebo. Not a lot of impact by McCaffrey at all. There was a Purdy had thrown a pick. The Niners had missed a field goal. It was just a disaster for the 49ers. And, how could the Lions possibly fall apart? Questions about their secondary, rightfully so, throughout the entire season, and yet they were absolutely crushing the 49ers on the road. And then the second half happened here. Brock Purdy ran for, 5 first downs? Hit big plays down the field. Deebo Samuel, I think, had 3 touches on the initial drive for San Francisco coming out of the first half, which was a scoring drive and was immediately pretty frightening, making it a 24-14 game. And the Niners just absolutely took off. Lions couldn't stop them, couldn't do much of anything. The final game totals, the Lions actually had more first downs, more total yards. Both teams were 6 for 12 on third down. 6 for 12 on third down. Same number of turnovers, and the penalties were about the same, although some were more critical than others. Of course, we had the absolutely wild completion downfield to Ayuk that bounced off the defender's face. That was a big play for San Francisco. The 2 missed fourth down conversions by the Lions will be talked about. Why didn't they go for a field goal there? Perhaps the game would have been different. The kicker had only been with the team for, I think, 5 games, 4 regular season games plus 2 postseason, so 6 games total, or this would be the 7th, I guess, for the Lions. So, one of the field goals was 40, 44, 45 yards, I believe. One was much closer. So perhaps they could have gone that method. Certainly in retrospect, you tend to look at them and say, well, you missed them. That could have been the difference in the game. It was a 3-point game. On the flip side, you go, well, if they had converted, which is not how anyone's looking at now, if they had converted and sustained a drive, scored a touchdown, things could have been very different as well. The fact of the matter is they just weren't converting. Josh Reynolds makes you want to do terrible things. Multiple drops by him. And that's where you start to look and see, oh, yeah, well, that's why he was a kind of a 5th stringer wide receiver for so long in the league, because of those types of plays. Talented, 1 reception for 25 yards, 4 targets total. St. Brown had a drop as well, and just absolute heartbreak for the Detroit Lions. Just getting crushed and their fans. Just very sad. Now, Dan Campbell's comments afterwards about how they might not make it back again was something I was actually saying during the game to myself. It started to weigh in on me how far they'd made it and how disastrous this loss really was. It's never guaranteed in football. Now, obviously, we're going to get a Super Bowl rematch between Chiefs and 49ers, so it's a little ironic to say that. But there are few teams over an extended period of time in any decade or two that can say that, right? Right now, it's the Niners and the Chiefs that are having a lot of success. For a while, it was the Patriots. But it's very difficult, and even in their own division. The Packers will be better next year. The Bears nearly won 8 of their last 9 games. And the Minnesota Vikings really shouldn't be too bad next year either. So I don't think his comments were harsh at all. I think it is motivating to say, hey, appreciate this year and also realize you'll have to come back and work very hard next year to get back to this point. I think that serves two purposes. Both appreciate from a life perspective what we've done and come back motivated, ready to go next season. I don't think it benefits anyone to be like, oh yeah, we'll just reload and come back next year, what every other damn coach says. I don't think that's helpful. So he is getting criticized for saying, hey, we may not make it back, but he says and does a lot of things that are unconventional. And I like the guy. I think Detroit likes the guy. And I think we are just fine with that. So 49ers moving on. It's been something else to come back from deficits the past couple of games now. Again, 49ers over Chiefs was my pick to win the Super Bowl coming into the season. I still like that. The line's, I think, a point 49ers way right now. Despite the poor performances by Purdy at times, I still like their offense better. I mean, do you not? Christian McCaffrey still had a couple touchdowns in this one. I think he had 90 yards rushing. They could have, had given him more touches. Again, they kind of slept on Kittle, who finished with just a couple grabs, and Deebo Samuel in the beginning and made some questionable choices, but I just don't see how you look at their skill position talent and what they are capable of on defense. That close with the Chiefs, quite frankly. Kansas City's defense has their own problems. One of the defensive ends tore his ACL as well. Charles Umuthlo, you don't come here for the pronunciations. Tore his ACL, and I love Patrick Mahomes, but Kelsey and who else? Right, Rice. Pachenko's been okay, but we'll see. Excited for the Super Bowl. Disappointed for the Ravens. Would have liked to see some success for Lamar, and devastated for the Lions. Great year, but no one remembers the runner-up in the NFC Championship game. So lick the wounds on that and get ready for Usher at the halftime of Super Bowl 48 with the Chiefs and the Niners. We'll talk to Brother Elliott coming up later in the week. We'll talk a little Michigan, University of Arizona, which he's an alum of both, some college sports, and I'll chat with you later. Okay, bye-bye.
All my blessings, all my blessings, all my blessings, all my blessings.
I need my blessings every penny. Daily counting every single one, I'm seeing plenty. Level up and watch that beat turn into a Bentley. See, I'm stunned, so all I'm thinking, please don't tell me.